Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a very targeted stack of information and really dissecting it. The source is a specialized recovery routine. It's called the Day 23 Full Body Mobility Plus Stretch Flow.
Hmm.
So if you're one of the, millions of people who spends a huge chunk of their day sitting.
Or even if you train hard.
Exactly, or you train hard and feel like your recovery is just always playing catch up, this deep dive is absolutely for you.
Hmm.
Our mission is to go beyond just, listing the movements. We are going to unpack this whole 15 to 20-minute flow to understand the biological, the functional why behind its really specific structure.
And that structure is everything. It's a blueprint.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at any kind of high-performance training, recovery is never random. And this flow gives you a clear, equipment-free roadmap. It guides you logically through 4 very distinct phases.
Okay.
First, you've got a gentle warm-up. Then you move into dynamic mobility. That's followed by deep static stretching.
Yeah.
And then you finish with this crucial nervous system cool-down.
It sounds like a masterclass in efficiency.
It is. If you only have 20 minutes, this ensures you're using them, well, perfectly.
Okay, let's unpack this then. We're breaking down these 4 distinct phases, and we're starting with the part that, let's be honest, most of us are guilty of skipping.
Epiphany.
But it's arguably the most fundamental step, preparation.
Mm-hmm.
So phase 1, the warm-up mobilization. This is just the first 3 minutes of the flow. In a world where we're all rushing from an office chair to the gym floor, why is this 3-minute joint prep phase so non-negotiable?
Because without it, you're essentially stretching cold, stiff tissues.
Right.
And that, one, increases the risk of strain, but also, and this is crucial, it limits the depth and the quality of the stretch you can even achieve later on. This phase isn't about breaking a sweat. It's
Right.
about gently waking up the joints, increasing what's called synovial fluid,
The natural lubricant.
the natural lubricant of your joints, exactly, and just starting that local blood flow. And the source material is very specific. It starts small and focused with preparatory rotations.
Oh.
We begin with 30 seconds of neck circles, and then right after that, 30 seconds of shoulder rolls.
So a top-down approach. Why start there?
Well, because we're dealing with the areas that get stiffened by gravity and just posture, sitting all day.
Okay, so we've covered the upper body in 1 minute. What's next in this joint-by-joint approach?
We just move down the chain. Next is the hips for 30 seconds of hip circles, then 30 seconds for ankle rotations.
That's very systematic.
It is. That structured sequence ensures we address all the major hinges of the body before we ask them to handle any load or complex movement. That's why we call them preparatory rotations. They're gently cueing the joint capsules to, get ready for action.
I see the logic there. So you spend 2 full minutes just focused on lubrication and rotation. What wraps up this mobilization phase?
The final minute is just light marching.
Okay.
And this is the transitionary signal. It elevates the heart rate just a little bit, signals to the muscles that real movement is coming,
Yeah.
and it consolidates all that localized joint prep into systemic readiness.
So you're shifting the body's whole system.
Exactly. From rest mode into active recovery mode. It perfectly sets the stage for the dynamic flow that's next.
That brings us beautifully into phase 2, the core of the routine.
Yeah,
The full body mobility flow.
right. This is where the real work begins.
And we shift from that gentle prep to dynamic multi-joint movements. It uses a structured pace, right? 40
Yeah.
seconds of work, 10 seconds of rest.
The 40-10 split, it's very right, and that facilitates better diaphragmatic engagement. Then conversely, in the cow position, arching your back, you're encouraging thoracic extension.
And most people are so stiff there.
Incredibly stiff, especially desk workers.
Mm.
And that stiffness literally limits how much your lungs can expand. Cat-cow forces that crucial, what we call spinal articulation.
Moving each individual segment.
Yes, intentionally moving each segment of the spine so no stiff parts get left behind.
Yeah.
It directly leads to improved breath capacity.
That makes so much sense. It's like a neurological cue as much as a physical stretch.
That is.
Following that, we get the legendary world's greatest stretch, performed for 40 seconds on each side.
Nice.
So why the lofty title?
Because it is, arguably the most comprehensive single mobility move you can do. It's an entire kinetic chain reaction.
Okay, break that down.
So you move into a deep lunge. That immediately stretches the hip flexor on your back leg,
Mm-hmm.
and that tightness is directly linked to lower back pain.
A huge issue for people.
A huge issue. Then you integrate a rotation through your thoracic spine while your front hamstring is simultaneously being lengthened. So you're hitting the psoas, the hamstrings, and your chest and upper back mobility all in one 40-second slot.
Maximum bang for your buck.
If you want that, this is it.
That definitely explains the efficiency.
Mhm.
Okay, so continuing the dynamic movements. The third item is the deep squat hold plus an arm raise.
Mm-hmm.
The benefit here is listed as improving ankle mobility and posture. But wait a minute. If the goal is ankle mobility, couldn't you just do a simple calf raise or ankle circle? Why use a valuable 40-second compound slot for this?
That's a really important question. And the reason this specific move is chosen is because it targets functional ankle mobility, specifically what's called dorsiflexion,
Which is?
the ability to move your shin forward over your foot while your heel stays on the ground.
Ah, okay.
And that is absolutely critical for walking, for running, for getting depth in any squat. If your ankles are stiff, your body compensates. It shifts the movement to your knees or your lower back, and that causes long-term issues.
So the deep squat forces that range of motion.
It forces that ankle range, and the arm raise ensures you maintain an upright torso. So you're simultaneously working on core stability and posture. It's multi-layered problem solving.
So it's addressing the fundamental base of our movement. I like that. Next up is the lunge twist stretch. Another move that sounds like it targets everything at once.
It does, and it does that through multiplanar movement. The lunge twist is a powerhouse. It hits three crucial areas at the same time: the hip flexor in one plane, the obliques and spine in the rotational plane,
And stabilization, too, I'd imagine.
and the frontal plane via stabilization. Yes, this move addresses rotation, which gets neglected so often in stretching routines, but it's essential for, reaching behind you or swinging a golf club. It keeps the spine mobile in all directions. And then we wrap up this dynamic section with the downward dog to plank flow.
Okay.
And while it does stretch the calves and shoulders, what's more important here is that it requires active core engagement and dynamic stabilization.
So what's the difference between a static stretch and that dynamic stabilization in this context?
Good question. In a static stretch, you just hold a position.
Right.
In the downward dog to plank flow, you're actively moving between two postures that both require stability.
So it's active.
It's very active.
Yeah.
This prepares the shoulders for load bearing, and it teaches the core how to brace during movement, which is far more functionally useful than just stretching a muscle in isolation. And what's really fascinating here is just how seamless that transition is. You go from the gentle mobilization in phase 1 right into these structured dynamic movements in phase 2, building internal heat and just perfectly preparing the tissues for deeper work.
That building of internal heat and preparation is the perfect setup for phase 3, the flexibility stretch routine. We're signaling a pretty distinct shift now. We're moving away from that dynamic action into true static stretching, which is why the holding times are a bit longer, right? 30 to 40 seconds each.
Exactly. The purpose of this shift is all about deepening flexibility and actively reducing muscle tightness through those sustained static holds. You can think of it like this. Phase 2 warms up the oil. Phase 3 pours that oil into the stiff joints.
That's a great analogy.
Because the muscles have been so thoroughly warmed up and taken through their range of motion, they're now much more pliable, more receptive to these sustained stretches. This minimizes the risk of injury while really maximizing that tissue elongation. And the routine is comprehensive. It targets 7 specific muscle groups, ensuring full coverage.
So this is where that efficiency really pays off.
It really does. We start with the standards, the big ones. The hamstring stretch, the quad stretch, and the glute stretch.
Right.
These address the largest muscle groups that store so much tension from sitting and from activity.
Right, but I want to spend a little time on the parts that truly make this a full body commitment, because it includes areas people they habitually neglect them.
Until there's pain.
Until there's pain, exactly. We're talking about stretching the front of the body and these peripheral structures. So let's talk about the chest opener. Most people focus on the back, but why is this so high on the priority list here?
The chest opener is a direct antidote to modern life. I mean, we live in a society of internal rotation,
Typing, driving.
typing, driving, hunching over our phones. This all leads to tight pectorals and that rounding of the shoulders, kyphosis. By dedicating 30 seconds to a chest opener, you are actively reversing that slump.
And it's not just about feeling good?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It's about improving the structural relationship between your shoulders and your spine. That's vital for long-term health and injury prevention. And in addition to the chest, we also address the backside with an upper back stretch, focusing on that area between the shoulder blades and the side body stretch, which targets the lateral fascia line. When you carry stress or sit incorrectly, those lateral lines, everything from your obliques to your quadratus lumborum, they get incredibly stiff.
So this keeps your whole trunk mobile.
It ensures you maintain mobility and balance in your trunk. Absolutely.
And finally, the last item on the list really underscores the commitment to detail, the wrist stretch. That seems like maybe an odd inclusion for a full body flow, unless you're a serious weightlifter.
It's not odd at all when you think about it. If we consider the user profile, the modern person, so many are spending hours on devices.
Right, repetitive strain.
Repetitive strain, carpal tunnel issues, and even beyond that, if you do any kind of bodyweight training, yoga or lifting, your wrists and forearms bear all that load. This commitment to peripheral areas ensures that the entire kinetic chain is addressed. It prevents strain, whether it's from working from home or from the gym.
So for true functional mobility.
You have to address the entire system, from the ankles all the way up to the wrists.
All right, so we've mobilized, we've flowed, and we've held. Now we transition to the final phase. Phase 4, breathing and cool down. The finale.
The home stretch.
This is just the last 2 minutes, and I think it's important to emphasize that this is an active cool down. It's focused on the internal system. You're not just stopping.
Exactly. This is the intentional deceleration period. And this is where we execute the central nervous system cool down.
The CNS cool down. What exactly does that mean?
It means we're actively transitioning the body from a state of movement, which is governed by the sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight, back into a state of rest and repair.
The parasympathetic nervous system.
That's the one. And that transition is absolutely crucial for maximizing recovery at a deep physiological level. So this cool down is structured into 2 distinct 1-minute components. The first is a full minute that's dedicated to deep diaphragmatic breathing.
Belly breathing.
Belly breathing. For 60 seconds, you're just focused entirely on slow, deep breaths.
But why dedicate a full minute to just breathing when, we could sneak in another hamstring stretch?
Because the breathing is the stretch for the nervous system. By consciously slowing your respiratory rate and engaging your diaphragm, you send these immediate signals to the vagus nerve that everything is safe, everything is calm. This is the final active step in the recovery process. It initiates muscle repair, waste removal by improving circulation, but maybe more importantly, it calms the mind and the body.
And that minute of focused relaxation is then followed by the last minute, the relaxed spine roll down.
Exactly. And this just allows gravity to gently decompress the spine, releasing any final remaining tension and fully concluding the physical portion of the flow.
It's the final surrender.
It is. It's the final surrender before you move on with your day, having completed a perfect recovery loop.
So what does this all mean? When we put it all together, we have a highly structured 15 to 20-minute recovery routine. It's broken down into 4 essential logical phases. It's not just a random collection of stretches. It's an intentionally sequenced program. You have preparation,
Mobilization,
active range of motion,
dynamic flow,
tissue elongation,
static holds,
and finally that physiological reset.
the cool down and breathing. And it all reiterates a really crucial principle. Recovery has to be intentional, and it has to be efficient. By moving from joint prep to multi-joint dynamic movement to deep static stretching, and then finishing with that critical active rest, you achieve the central goal. And that goal is improving flexibility and accelerating recovery through a highly intentional series of movements. It addresses the entire system. And, this raises an important question for you, the listener, to consider. We spend a lot of time analyzing the functional necessities of this flow, particularly those movements that target overlooked areas. So I want you to think about your own daily stiffness, that tightness you feel after a day of work or a hard workout. If you had to bet on one specific, often forgotten component of this routine, whether it's the emphasis on ankle mobility in the deep squat hold, or the necessity of the wrist stretches, or even the central nervous system benefits of that diaphragmatic breathing, which single element do you suspect might have the biggest, most immediate impact on easing your own daily stiffness, or just improving your ability to move comfortably? Because focusing on that one area, well, that's the key to maximizing the application of all this knowledge.